All right, guys. So let us just give just a few more minutes, probably 5 more minutes, just to have a number of other persons the opportunity to jump onto this conversation that we're about to have. So, guys, just sit tight. Within the next 4 to 5 minutes, then we will be good to go up and rolling as we have some fun. All right, great, guys. So, welcome to yet another session like this. I mean, where we enjoy sharing, pretty much where I enjoy sharing resources that I come across from time to time that I believe can be of value to enhancing the cybersecurity and GRC initiatives within our business and organizations. So, let's look at those foundational measures to implement a strong cybersecurity program. And that's what we're going to be looking at, right? Looking at the those foundational elements or measures that we can implement as cybersecurity professionals to have that strong cybersecurity program. And for all of the information that I do share with you from time to time, then I definitely look at those authentic sources that actually provides the support behind the information that I share with you from time to time, guys. So feel free to ask questions as I proceed. I mean, through this particular conversation, and for sure, I'm always um, open to the questions or suggestions that you might have as we go along. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about having fun, building our skill set as we seek to become better, more effective cybersecurity professionals that the industry is seeking to have within their organizations. So, before we start looking at these measures in details, I like to remove any assumptions. That one of the things about me, regardless of what topics or presentations or conversation, it's always good to remove all assumptions, guys. So for those who might not understand what a cybersecurity program is, that's very important as I seek to create some clarity when you talk about a cybersecurity program within an organization or even developing a cybersecurity program. And for sure, if you need that deep dive or more comprehensive, holistic approach to practically developing and implementing a cybersecurity program within an organization, then I'll be placing a link in the description that you can actually connect with some of the resources that I've actually developed. In particular, one of my Udemy courses that actually gives you the practical hands-on um, process that I would actually use to develop a cyber security program for an organization. So we're going to be looking at those foundational measures that you can actually implement to have that strong cybersecurity program within your organization. All right, so let me quickly just okay. So all right, guys. So there we have foundational measures, right? And these are the foundational measures that we'll be deep diving into as it relates to building our cybersecurity program within our organizations. Just hang on a second. All right. So, okay. So great. So, as I was mentioning earlier, then very importantly, let me just pull up this um, particular resource that might be able to give you a better understanding or shed more light on when we talk about having a cybersecurity program within our organization. Okay, great. So there we have, right? So just for you to have an idea as to when we talk about having a cybersecurity program or building a cybersecurity program within an organization, then pretty much this is what your cybersecurity program, right? Pretty much refers to that comprehensive set of, right? So you have your strategies, right? Strategies, policies, procedures, and technologies implemented within an organization to protect its computer systems, your networks, data, and all digital assets from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, or destruction. And the primary objective of a cybersecurity program is to safeguard information and ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of critical resources within the organization. So that's the key thing as it relates to a cybersecurity program. Now, a cybersecurity program typically um, has a number of components that pretty much work together to address security risk and threats within a particular business or organization. And this, of course, has a number of key elements, right? There are a number of key elements that actually works together to build that cybersecurity program, or a number of key elements that makes up your cybersecurity program, right? And some of these key elements we'll be looking at. So there we have, right? And for sure, the key element behind driving this your cybersecurity program initiative is your GRC program, and this GRC program is required to drive your cybersecurity initiative successfully, right? So the key elements that we have a total of nine key elements that are actually used to drive your cybersecurity program. We're talking about your security policies and procedures, um, risk management, access control, network security, incident response, security awareness training, security monitoring and testing, security incident management, and also compliance and governance. So those are some of the main elements or key elements that actually drives your cybersecurity program, which is then backed by your governance GRC initiatives. So that's the main thing that governs all of your cybersecurity efforts. Without that proper governance structure in place, then all your efforts within the organization in terms of implementing a cybersecurity program will not be as effective and efficient as required within that particular organization. So, when you talk about your security policies and procedures, then it's pretty much are all the documents, right? Guidelines and protocols that the organization um, uses in terms of their security objectives. You're talking about your roles and responsibilities and establishing the rules for protecting information assets, which is then followed by your risk management, which in of itself is a one of the key components of cybersecurity. Is all about managing risk. So this in of itself, there are many frameworks, COBIT, ISO 27001. There are many other frameworks that are actually used as it relates to risk management for cybersecurity, and of course, your access control, managing all of the access to your resources within that organization. Moving on to your network security. All right. So, incident response, security awareness, and training. All of these elements, all of these components form critical elements for your cybersecurity initiatives within your organization. Right. So, that's just to give for persons who might not understand the background to a cybersecurity program. Right. So, you have your policies, technologies, procedures, uh, strategies. All of this is then driven by your GRC program. All right, so that's that as it relates to your cybersecurity program. So let us now look at the important point at this is uh, to look at those foundational measures that we can actually use to implement a strong cybersecurity program within your organization. Right? That's the key thing that we are looking at. So we have those foundational measures, right? But before we actually go into all of these foundational measures, then if we recognize then that the information that that we are going to be using to help us in our initiatives is actually developed by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and that's the CISA, right? That's America's Cyber Defense Agency, right? And it says that free cybersecurity services and tools, and this is a very great resource repository of updated tools that are being curated that can be used by us cybersecurity professionals within our organizations to drive our cybersecurity initiatives. Right. So before we actually look into, let me see. Right. So these are the free cybersecurity services and tools as provided by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency (CISA), and it says as part of our continuing mission to reduce cybersecurity risks across U.S. critical infrastructure, partners and states. Then CISA has compiled a list of free cybersecurity tools and services that can be used to help organizations further advance their cybersecurity capabilities. So that's just a background to all the tools and resources that are used. And these are the foundational measures that they have actually recommended that can be used or implemented to develop a strong cybersecurity program within an organization. The very first one is all organizations should take certain foundational measures to implement a strong cybersecurity program. And the very first one they recommend is to fix the known security flaws in software. Right? These are recommendations from CISA, and these cannot be overemphasized. Right? They recommend fixing the known cybersecurity flaws in software, implementing multi-factor authentication, um, stopping or preventing those bad practices, signing up for CISA's cyber hygiene vulnerability scanning, and also get your stuff off search, which is SOS. So if we go right back to the very first in the world list, it says that fixing known security flaws and software. Right. So there they have a resource that says that check the CISA known exploited vulnerabilities. Right. Catalog for software used by your organization. So you can actually uh, tap into this particular repository, and depending on the platforms that you might be using within an organization, then for sure some of these um, patch management application will be updated with some of these known fixes and recommendations as it relates to software, right? MFA that cannot be overemphasized, and it also highlights the bad practices. So take immediate steps to one, replace end of life software. Right? So we are talking about being in mind that we are looking at foundational measures to implement a strong cybersecurity program, right? Foundational elements. And as recommended, very first foundational measure that you can implement or can be implemented to have that strong cybersecurity program is to fix the known security flaws in your software, and it gives a recommendation. And I'll be placing a link to all of these resources, guys, so that you can actually access these resources. Um, Implement multi-factor authentication, right? Halt bad practices, right? So let us look at some of all of these in better detail. So in this case, right? It also, if we should dive into this, then CISA gives better details in terms of applying multi-factor authentications, right? So there they have all of the recommendations are provided by CISA, right? Different ways to say MFA, what is multi-factor, and they give all the necessary details, something you know, something you have, right? They also have presentation given in terms of the application of multi-factor authentication, instruction in terms of enabling multi-factor authentication, the various forms of MFA, where to implement MFA, right? Email accounts, financial services, social media accounts, online stores, gaming and streaming entertainment services, right? And it also says that if you don't see a problem, okay, right? So pretty much all of the necessary details. And if you go right down to this, one of the good things about this CISA website is that they have a very good repository of information that you can actually pull on to gain all the necessary knowledge and insights to build your cybersecurity initiatives within your organization or business. So I highly recommend, guys, that you um, go to CISA's resources and to start exploring all of these resources that you can actually use to develop and to make your cybersecurity initiatives more effective. right? And there you have all of this can be done with it, implementing strong authentication capacity enhancement guide. And all the details about MFA is actually listed there. Implementing phishing resistant MFA, right? Next level MFA, FIDO authentication, or FIDO works, implementing a number matching in MFA applications, right? So there's a deep dive of resources, right? MFA toolkit, right? We need, so all of these things are actually here in terms of providing with all the necessary details, right? So if you go to, for example, your MFA toolkit, right? So all of those samples are actually there listed, right? A lot of resources that you can actually implement with organization. So just in terms of functional measures that organizations should take to implement a strong cybersecurity program. All right. So what about our bad practices? So let us look at some of these bad practices. Right. So they're asking or recommending that we definitely remove these bad practices from our cybersecurity initiatives um, as we develop our cybersecurity programs. All right. So, and it is saying here that CISO is developing a catalog of bad practices that are exceptionally risky, especially in organizations supporting critical infrastructures or NCFs, right? And the presence of these bad practices in organizations that support critical infrastructure or NCFs is exceptionally dangerous and increases risk to our critical infrastructure, which we rely for national security. All right, so there they have the use of unsupported end of life software. Right, so these are all bad practices. These are things that you definitely want to um, take into consideration to get these things resolved or patched or removed from your environment accordingly, right? Use of known or fixed default passwords and credentials, the use of single factor authentication, right? So while these practices are dangerous for critical infrastructure, CISO encourages all organizations to engage in the necessary actions and critical conversations to address bad practices. Right, so those are those for as it relates to bad practices. Right, and you can also sign up for CISO's cyber hygiene vulnerability scanning, and this is something that you can actually register for. That actually does service by emailing. Right, so your hygiene vulnerability scanning. We also have what is called your get your stuff off search. And it says that while zero day attacks draw the most attention, frequently less complex exposures to both cyber and physical security are missed. Right? So you get your stuff off search. And let us look at this. So stuff off search. Right. So what this is saying, so get your stuff off search SOS and reduce internet attack surfaces that are visible to anyone on web-based search platforms. Right. And they also provide all of the necessary guidelines in terms of the resources. Know what your adversaries know. Your stuff off search primer, your stuff off. These are various Shodan OSINT information gathering platforms, stuff off Thinkful. Right, so it gives you resources that you can actually use to um, remove your devices. That are not properly secured from being exposed to the internet itself. All right. Let us look back at Okay, so all right, so once we have all of these things in place, guys, right? So once these are all the foundational measures that you can actually apply. So once you have fixed your known security flaws, you have implemented MFA, you have actually taken care of your bad practices in terms of those immediate steps, right? Replace end of life software, replace any system or products that rely on unknown default, unchangeable passwords, adapt MFA, sign up for CISA's hygiene vulnerability scanning. You have actually done your SOS. Then this is the fun part, right? Looking at those free services and tools, right? And if you recall, let me see, right? Bearing in mind foundational measures to implement a strong cyber. So looking at reducing the likelihood of a damaging cyber incident, detecting malicious activity quickly, responding effectively to um, confirm incidents, and maximizing your resilience. So let us go look at the details that are provided by CISA for all of these. So looking back at your free services and tools, so after making progress on the measures above, right? So once you've actually implemented all of these, you have taken the necessary actions. Then the next thing that CISO recommends is that organizations can use the free services and tools listed below to mature their cybersecurity risk management. That's the main purpose of these tools. So you first take care of these tasks, then you apply these various services and tools to mature your cybersecurity risk management. And these resources are categorized according to four goals outlined in CISA Insights. Right? The four goals are reducing the likelihood of a damaging cyber incident, detecting malicious activity quickly, responding effectively to confirmed incidents, and maximizing resilience. Right? So if we go right to that particular document, right, this is the document. Implement cybersecurity measures now to protect against potential critical threats. Right. So where you have reduced the likelihood of a damaging cyber intrusion, then these are the recommendations. It says that validate all remote access to the organization's network and privilege or administrative access. Ensure that software is up to date, prioritizing updates that address known exploited vulnerabilities identified by CISA. Then you want to confirm that the organization's IT personnel have disabled all ports and protocols that are not essential for business purposes, right? And if the organization is using cloud services, ensure that IT personnel have reviewed and implemented strong controls outlined in CISA's guidance. Right, then you have take steps to quickly detect potential intrusion. Right, so for all of these guys, then this document itself goes further into the details of actually achieving each of these areas that have been highlighted to mature your cybersecurity risk management within your organization. So looking at the very first task or step to maturing your cybersecurity risk management, that is reducing the likelihood of a damaging cyber incident. And these are the recommendations for achieving this, right? So service fortified data, it says skill level basic owner fortified data. And it gives the description and also the link to this particular tool, which is your free plan Fortify, that helps you in this process. Quarterly vulnerability assessment that include automated attack service, assessment with asset classification, risk-based vulnerability, right? And there's a lot of resources, a lot of content, guys, that you definitely will have to take some time to go into all of this. So it has open vast basic, right, vulnerability scanner. It goes on to a network reporting, um, Vulcan cyber ransomware risk assessment, right? And there's a link that you can actually go to all of these resources. CISA cybersecurity publications, um, and list goes on, right? So you have your Microsoft Defender, cybersecurity evaluation tool, and on-site cybersecurity consulting, right? So these are all of the resources that you can use to achieve each of those elements of your cybersecurity maturity, right? So that's where for the very first task. Now let us look at, right, and it's a very long list that is provided by CISA, right? So this is the second phase, is to take steps to quickly detect a potential intrusion. And these are all the services, resources that you can actually use to achieve this particular objective or step, right? Let us go further down into this document, right? The third step is to ensure that the organization is prepared to respond if an intrusion occurs. So this is the third level, right? And it provides your MITRE talk, your OpenSSH, it recommends your Metasploit framework. So it's a matter of going through all of these tools to see what best fits your organization needs and actually pulling and using. So see this as a guide, as a repository that you can actually use to drive and to guide your efforts um, in terms of implementing a strong cybersecurity program, right? And this is maximize your organization resilience to a destructive cyber incident, right? And then it goes on further to look at um, your ransomware plan. And it provides a number of resources for your ransomware initiative, right? So you have your protection and response, you have your services, public, right? So ransomware, your ready, ransomware readiness self-assessment, all the necessary guidelines are provided by CISA to help in your cybersecurity efforts, right? So pretty much, guys, this is um, your guideline as provided by CISA that you can actually use to implement, right, a number of measures to implement a strong cybersecurity program within your organization. So see you in another session whereby we're looking at further resources that you can actually capitalize on. There are so many resources, free resources that have been actually organized, developed by industry experts that you can actually use within your organization, your businesses to drive your cybersecurity efforts and initiatives as a cybersecurity professionals. Right? So it's all about deep diving, guys, taking the time to research, to build your skill set, to be more efficient and effective as a cybersecurity professional within the industry. So there we have it, guys. So see you in our next session. I mean, feel free to reach out to me, to DM me. I mean, about anything that you might have some concerns about, so that we can further discuss. All right. So stay tuned, guys, for another session in our series of resources that can be used to build our cybersecurity programs and initiatives.